Observe Jannik Sinner today, and you'll witness a relentless force systematically conquering the global tennis stage. Cast your mind back just a few seasons, and this identical athlete was the runner-up, a figure often overshadowed by the formidable presence of Carlos Alcaraz. The question arises, how did this unassuming youth from the Alpine regions transform into the one competitor Alcaraz genuinely dreads facing? To grasp how Jannik Sinner is poised to redefine records and claim the coveted top ranking, we must examine the precise juncture when many believed his promising career had reached its ceiling. Presently, Sinner glides across the court with the stealth of a hunter, striking the ball with an abrupt and startling power that silences even the largest arenas. His recent Sunshine Double victories in Indian Wells and Miami demonstrated an unforgiving effectiveness, a dominance rarely seen in tennis since the prime era of the sport's storied Big Three. He is now closing in on the top global spot, creating palpable unease among his competitors. Yet, Jannik Sinner's path to preeminence has been anything but straightforward. It's an intricate narrative of an athlete compelled to fundamentally reshape his very essence to thrive in contemporary tennis. Initially, fans worldwide encountered a vastly different Sinner, a lean adolescent possessing a formidable forehand but lacking a robust physical frame. We frequently observed him falter in demanding five-set encounters, succumbing repeatedly to the immense pressure. While his primary competitor garnered Grand Slam titles and commanded international attention, Sinner struggled, often appearing to buckle beneath the burden of high expectations. Alcaraz was hailed by the press as the undisputed prodigy, whereas Sinner remained the gifted player whose impressive tennis was consistently cut short by physical fatigue. The disparity between them seemed insurmountable, a permanent chasm, demanding a drastic transformation to prevent his burgeoning career from stagnating indefinitely. The formidable metamorphosis we currently observe is no mere twist of fate. It is the consequence of a deliberate and unsparing reconstruction. Prior to achieving significant championships and demonstrating impeccable tennis, Jannik Sinner's initial sporting path was not even tennis. He excelled as a national skiing champion, a background that endowed him with a cool, analytical precision, directly transferable from the Italian snow-covered slopes to the tennis court. Skiing demands profound mastery of equilibrium and an utter absence of apprehension. A single misjudgment in weight distribution at high speeds results in an immediate fall. Sinner channeled this identical, exacting biomechanical command into striking a tennis ball, which explains the initial, undeniable perfection of his ground strokes. His ability to meet a powerful ball with such precise timing is a skill beyond what most coaches can instill. He attacked the ball flat and with force, eliminating the superfluous looping motions that often impede other players. His inaugural years on the professional circuit offered an astonishing display of sheer, unbridled power. Spectators quickly learned to identify the distinctive report of his racket connecting with the ball, a sound like a pistol shot reverberating through the stadium. He systematically overpowered seasoned adversaries in straight sets, ascending the world rankings with alarming speed. However, professional tennis transcends a mere dash. It constitutes a grueling examination of human stamina, unmercifully exposing every concealed flaw an athlete attempts to mask. As Sinner progressed through the ranks, eventually encountering the sport's premier defensive specialists, his offensive game encountered a formidable barrier. While possessing remarkable speed and hitting with immense force, he was also strikingly transparent in his approach. He resembled a video game persona whose entire skill allocation prioritized defense, with no investment in endurance or nuanced tactics. The sport's elite rapidly deciphered the straightforward method to defeat him: simply withstand his initial, powerful assault, anticipating his inevitable physical decline. And indeed, this collapse invariably occurred at the most critical junctures. He might control a match for 2 hours, only to appear barely capable of wielding his racket in a decisive final set. During this phase, his serve was a significant vulnerability, an ungainly, fragmented motion that yielded minimal easy points and exerted relentless, draining pressure on his already exhaustive baseline play. He expended excessive energy for every point secured. One could visibly discern the profound fatigue in his gaze during extended, punishing exchanges against more seasoned players. While his raw striking ability was enough to intimidate any opponent, a potent forehand alone does not confer the title of world's best, especially when one's physique begins to falter on the grandest stages. Witnessing his impeccable performance now, one is compelled to ponder how such a vulnerable talent evolved into an ultimate competitor. Discerning this precise transformation is why we meticulously analyze these athletic journeys. Continue with us as we reveal the harsh crucible that compelled Sinner to overhaul his entire approach. The year 2022 marked the dramatic derailment of expectations surrounding Sinner. As Carlos Alcaraz celebrated Grand Slam triumphs and captured global attention, Sinner found himself trapped in a relentless mental cycle. He consistently advanced deep into major tournaments, effortlessly defeating strong opponents. Yet invariably, when confronted with the toughest elite competition, he would disintegrate under the intense glare of the stadium lights. We witnessed this firsthand at Wimbledon against Novak Djokovic, Sinner held a commanding two-set lead, exhibiting utterly flawless and spectacular grass-court tennis, appearing invincible. His ground strokes effectively pinned the sport's greatest returner deep behind the baseline. Then the overwhelming pressure began to take its toll both mentally and physically. His legs grew leaden, his dependable first serve inexplicably vanished. Djokovic then coolly and methodically dismantled him over the subsequent 3 grueling sets. It was a painful and public demonstration of his stamina deficit. However, that particular collapse paled in comparison to the grim ordeal awaiting him in New York. The quarterfinal clash at the 2022 US Open against Carlos Alcaraz stands as one of the most brutal and memorable encounters in recent tennis lore. It devolved into a fierce physical battle, extending well into the early morning hours, with both youthful competitors pouring their entire beings onto the hard court. Their ball-striking intensity was so extreme it astonished seasoned commentators. Then came the pivotal instant, match point for Jannik Sinner in a high-stakes 4th set. For a moment, envision yourself in his shoes, standing on the Arthur Ashe Stadium baseline at 2 a.m., one solitary point shy of your inaugural Grand Slam semifinal. Across the net, your most significant contemporary rival stares back. Your lungs ache, your legs feel like solid stone, and the New York crowd roars deafeningly. You toss the vibrant ball heavenward. But your first serve goes awry. A chilling dread begins to spread through you. You send over a cautious, safe second serve, initiating a grueling rally from the baseline. You stretch Alcaraz wide to his forehand, leaving the entire court wide open before you. You swing, but the shot sails wide. The opportunity vanishes, irrevocably lost. A collective gasp of disbelief sweeps through the immense stadium. Alcaraz, against all odds, endures the threat. He claims the grueling 5th set, proceeds to conquer the tournament, and makes history as the sport's youngest-ever world number 1. Sinner remained in the silent, darkened locker room, haunted by the crushing resonance of a lost chance, both physically spent and utterly mentally broken. The subsequent morning's media response was immediate and merciless. Expert analysts scrutinized his slender physique, concluding he was too frail to endure the arduous demands of a Grand Slam's second week. They emphatically asserted his complete absence of the cutthroat killer instinct vital for a true champion. He was permanently branded as the perennial runner-up, destined to consistently finish among the top 5 but never grasp the ultimate historical trophy. He seemed perpetually condemned to watch his formidable rival dominate the tennis landscape. This profound frustration was evident in his court demeanor, visibly consuming him. Whenever a match extended beyond 3 punishing hours, one could invariably pinpoint the precise moment his inner conviction evaporated. His tired eyes would nervously dart towards his coaching box, filled with utter desperation. He had exhausted his options. His innate talent, though prodigious, proved insufficient against the sport's absolute elite. He was a spectacular shot maker, yet one without a dependable physical bedrock. At this critical juncture, the storyline was definitively etched. Sinner appeared fated to remain just shy of greatness, until he made an uncompromising choice that fundamentally altered the course of his career. True invincibility isn't achieved by merely intensifying existing efforts. It demands a complete deconstruction and rebuilding of one's entire approach, precisely why Sinner sought out Darren Cahill. He took the drastic step of dismissing his long-term childhood coach and entirely revamped his established and comfortable support staff. He enlisted the renowned Darren Cahill with the explicit goal of overhauling a profoundly flawed system. Cahill is widely recognized as the master architect behind legendary tennis careers, having forged Leighton Hewitt into a formidable fighter and sculpted Andre Agassi into an absolute icon. Upon observing Sinner, Cahill immediately identified a powerful high-performance engine encased within a delicate framework. Cahill's initial assessment was unvarnished and undeniably harsh. He informed Sinner that his serve was fundamentally dysfunctional. It was overly intricate, consumed excessive physical energy, and represented a significant weakness that depleted his reserves in every game. Consequently, they retreated to the training grounds, meticulously dismantling and reconstructing his serving motion from its foundations. They transitioned his foot placement from a pinpoint stance to a more stable platform, drastically adjusted his ball toss, and streamlined the complex kinetic sequence of his lean physique. This juncture represents a perilous challenge where numerous professional athletes falter and withdraw. Altering a foundational stroke in one's early 20s is an intimidating undertaking. It guarantees losses during the acquisition of new muscle memory and invites public scrutiny from millions of critical observers. Yet Sinner was unconcerned with immediate public hardship, fully embracing the arduous reconstruction, understanding it was the sole route to reaching the pinnacle. Do you consider a player's decision to replace their childhood coach and completely redesign their serve at the sport's highest level an act of sheer brilliance or reckless abandon? Share your perspective on this monumental career gamble in the comments, as this solitary audacious choice often distinguishes solid competitors from true legends. The subsequent crucial phase of Cahill's extensive overhaul was entirely physical. Sinner attacked the gymnasium with an intense, quiet dedication, engaging in heavyweight training. He developed substantial dense muscle mass in his upper body and fundamentally fortified his core strength. He shed the appearance of a delicate, ungainly adolescent, gradually transforming into the image of a championship-caliber boxer. This physical armor was forged to safeguard his joints through grueling 5-set marathons. Yet, the most profound and impactful alteration remained imperceptible. Cahill fundamentally reconfigured Sinner's conceptualization of a tennis point. Sinner ceased attempting to execute a clean, highlight reel winner on every single baseline stroke, instead embracing the subtle and disciplined art of strategic patience. He mastered the precise method of crafting a deadly snare using potent spin and acute angles. Towards the end of the season, the fully realized formidable player finally emerged. Stepping onto the court against top-tier opposition, his demeanor had entirely shifted. Gone was the nervous urgency in his shots. Instead, he methodically and dispassionately pursued his opponents. His refined, simplified serve now consistently produced numerous uncontested points. As he began unleashing precise aces at 125 mph with a relaxed, effortless flick of his powerful wrist, he was now securing easy points, thereby conserving his valuable energy for the physically demanding deep sets. While adversaries desperately sought to draw him into exhaustive baseline rallies, Sinner simply no longer showed signs of fatigue. He maintained an impassive, stoic demeanor as he pulverized powerful flat forehands deep into the corners, calmly dismantling former Grand Slam champions with an almost dispassionate efficiency. He had not only resolved his physical shortcomings, but also mastered his mental game. More than just refining his serve, he had completely re-engineered his entire approach to tennis, leaving the rest of the tour utterly unprepared for the formidable force about to be unleashed. What transpired next transcended a mere string of victories. It was a complete subjugation of the entire ATP Tour. Sinner ceased merely competing in matches and instead began to conduct strategic operations. The immediate surge in his performance was terrifying for anyone facing him. He debuted his revitalized serve, utterly demolishing his opponent's self-assurance. Asterisk thwack. Asterisk an ace screamed down the tee at 128 mph. Asterisk thump. Asterisk a potent, unreturnable kick serve angled wide. Asterisk wham. Asterisk a devastating forehand winner landed precisely on the baseline. The tempo of his contest abruptly accelerated to dizzying speeds. He powered through the Davis Cup, bringing Italy ultimate glory. He then advanced through the Australian Open, systematically dissecting every adversary. He dominated the hard courts with unsettling ruthlessness, culminating in his sweep of the Sunshine Double at Indian Wells and Miami to commence the 2026 season. He is amassing prestigious trophies at a pace that creates statistical alarm among the rest of the top 10. The most astonishing aspect is the apparent effortlessness of his achievements. He displays no visible exertion, no vocal outbursts. He simply strikes the ball with a force and depth seemingly beyond human capability. He dictates the court's angles with pinpoint accuracy. His rivals now step onto the court already burdened by the oppressive weight of his recent supremacy. Figures like Daniil Medvedev and Novak Djokovic have openly conceded the immense challenge of breaching his formidable new defensive barrier. They attempt to overpower him, only for the ball to return with increased speed and weight. He has transmuted his entire baseline play into an inescapable predicament. A short ball is met with a decisive winner, while a deep shot is countered with a crushing, pace-driven down-the-line blow. There is no longer any sanctuary on the court, yet his raw power alone is not the sole ingredient in this historic streak. The authentic brilliance behind his current reign actually resides in a subtle technical nuance seldom discussed in broadcasts. To grasp how he ultimately neutralized the formidable challenge of Carlos Alcaraz, one must specifically observe his footwork during service returns. When Alcaraz directs a serve wide, he anticipates his adversary to stretch and defensively deflect the ball, a typical human response. Sinner, however, deviates from this norm. He employs an aggressive open stance return, firmly planting his outer foot on the hard court and powerfully rotating his entire torso, transferring kinetic energy from his lower body directly into the racket. He strikes the return with full offensive force, even while seemingly off balance. This distinctive technical alteration fundamentally deprives Alcaraz of his most crucial asset, time. Sinner intercepts the ball so swiftly that Alcaraz barely completes his serving motion before the vibrant yellow projectile hurtles back towards his feet. This tactic stifles the Spanish prodigy, trapping him deep in the court and compelling him into exceptionally awkward defensive stances. While Alcaraz thrives on agile movement and conjuring imaginative angles, Sinner simply denies him the precious seconds required to execute such artistry. He delivers forceful, flat shots across the court, effectively draining the energy from the arena. He systematically dismantles his rival's unpredictable genius with the cold logic of mathematical precision. The entire dynamic of their rivalry has dramatically inverted. Just 2 years prior, Sinner was the struggling challenger striving to weather the Alcaraz onslaught. Now it is Alcaraz who frantically seeks solutions. The Spanish star gazes across the net at an unyielding Italian barrier, one that launches 97 mph ground strokes without a flicker of hesitation. The palpable anxiety during their recent baseline exchanges is unmistakable. Alcaraz may land a flawless offensive shot that would defeat virtually any other player, Yet Sinner effortlessly glides into the corner, unleashing a powerful passing shot precisely down the line, a truly deflating experience. Sinner has not merely drawn level with Carlos Alcaraz. He has utterly dismantled the very strategy that rendered Alcaraz such a formidable opponent. We are no longer merely anticipating the emergence of the next generation in tennis. We are currently immersed in the Sinner era, witnessing a fundamental reshaping of the sport's landscape. The legendary epoch of the Big Three is now enshrined in history, and the significant power void has finally been occupied by an unassuming youth from the snowy mountains who strikes the ball with the force of a speeding locomotive. This intense rivalry with Alcaraz is set to profoundly influence professional tennis for the coming decade, pushing both athletes to unprecedented physical and strategic peaks. Yet at this moment, the momentum firmly rests with the Italian phenomenon. He boasts an ideal coaching staff, an exceptional physical prowess, and a mental composure that approaches the otherworldly. He steps onto the sport's grandest stages fully expecting to utterly dismantle his opponent. Securing the world #1 ranking is no longer a remote ambition but an imminent statistical certainty. He isn't simply accumulating tournament victories, he is transmitting an undeniable message throughout the locker room. The benchmark has been elevated to an entirely new stratosphere. To triumph over Jannik Sinner today, one must execute flawless tennis for a full 3 hours, with no room for a single mental error or a weak second serve. Any minor display of vulnerability will be mercilessly exploited, leading to a swift defeat. He has systematically eradicated his former weaknesses, culminating in a journey from a delicate talent to an undeniable global force now perfectly complete. The slender boy who once struggled to endure brutal 5-set encounters has become the quintessential marathon predator. He internalized the profound heartbreak of New York, transforming it into pure, unadulterated dominance. His astonishing ascent powerfully demonstrates the unforgiving yet transformative force of reinvention. One must be profoundly prepared to dismantle one's established foundation to erect an unassailable empire. He achieved precisely this, shedding all vulnerabilities and reconstructing himself into an absolute powerhouse. The entire tennis world observes in sheer amazement as he fundamentally redefines the boundaries of possibility on a tennis court. The question is no longer whether Jannik Sinner will utterly dominate this ATP season, but rather, can anyone on earth truly halt his progress? To discover the definitive answer and monitor every strategic evolution in this compelling new chapter of tennis, make sure to subscribe to the channel immediately.